Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. We'll be solving the questions on. Please put yourself on mute. My voice is echoing. So today we'll be picking up questions on standard costing and advanced variances. Questions from the study hub, all of which are basically dealing with advanced variances and some questions from basic variances, which tend to be a little tricky for everyone. So I have picked those up. Standard costing and variance analysis might not come as a separate chapter, as in a separate section C question, but we have enough evidence that Section A and Section B will contain questions from variance analysis. So A, knowledge of all the formulas and remembering those is critical. Apart from that, of course, you should be able to quickly juggle between different formulas. So basically what you see in the recording in terms of, the tricks bolo ya formula bolo to make sure that you have done it properly. Okay, let's begin with the first question. Let's have a look. What was the total material mix variance for the period? Okay, that is the question. Now, what is a company manufactures a based fruit flavored drink base by mixing two liquids X and Y. The standard cost card for 10 liters of the drink concentrate is liquid X 5 liters at 16 per liter, liquid Y 6 liters at 25 per liter. The company does not hold any inventory. During the last period, the company produced 4800 liters of the drink base. This was 200 liters below the budgeted output. The company purchased 2200 liters of X for 18 per liter and 2750 liters of Y for 21 per liter. Okay, so first of all, what is the actual quantity? Actual quantity, which we call actual quantity, actual mix. Okay, how much is the actual quantity, actual mix? So for material X, okay, you have liquid X. How much was purchased? 2200. Okay, and liquid Y, how much was purchased? 2750. Okay. Now, what is the standard mix, by the way? Standard mix for the drink is X is to Y should be 5 is to 6. Correct. So, whatever material you have, it has to be split in this ratio. What is the total? 2200 plus 2750 will be 4950. Okay. So 2200, 2750, 4950. Now actual quantity standard mix. What is actual quantity standard mix? Actual quantity but divided in the ratio of your standard mix, which is 5 is to 6. So 4950 into 5 by 11 and 4950 into 6 by 11. 11 fours are 44, 11 fives are 55. 550 into 5. This should be 2250 and 550 into 6 should be 2700. Okay. Now with this information, uh, actual quantity, actual mix, actual quantity, standard mix. Okay. Now AQAM minus AQSM. And I have told you, I'm sure when you have watched the recording, one thing you have come to realize is that your favorable or adverse can never depend on the sign. It always depends on the situation. Now, in this case, as per the standard mix, you were allowed to use 2250, but you ended up using 2200. Correct. So you used less than what ideally you should have used. So 2250, 2200 minus 2250. This is 50 favorable. You used less than what you were supposed to use. And here 2750 is what you actually used, but as per the standard proportion, you should have used 2700. So you used more quantity than what you were supposed to use. 2750 minus 2700 is 50 adverse. Okay, now you will have to multiply it with the standard rate. What is the standard rate per kg or per liter? This is 16. This is 25. So mix variance. How much is that? 16 into 50, 800 favorable. 25 into 50, 1250 adverse. What will you be left with? You will be left with 450 adverse. So the trick is remembering the formula and then applying it to your calculations in such a way so that, see, the logic should not go out of the window. Whether you do AQAM minus AQSM, yeah, whether you do actual quantity standard mix minus actual quantity actual mix, do whatever suits you. But see, your answer, that doesn't change the nature of variance, because the nature of variance does not depend upon the sign. It depends upon the actual usage or utility, or or utilization, all of that. So you use less than what you were supposed to use, the variance is favorable. You use more than what you were supposed to use, the variance is adverse. So in this case, your variance is 450 adverse, because you're talking about the entire material mix, and in that proportion, 450 adverse is the correct answer. Okay. Now, Gao Company manufactures a product with standard material cost as follows: material X, material Y. Actual production of 1010 units required the following material. ठीक है. Material X you needed 2200 kg, material Y you needed 6080 kg. This is the actual quantity that was used. And what do you need? You need actual quantity that was used in the production, but you also need actual quantity in standard mix. ठीक है. So यहाँ पे what is the standard material mix? Standard material mix is X is to Y is 2 is to 6. Okay. Material X 2 kg, material Y 6 kg. Let's do the same thing. Our answer won't be much different. Just instead of liquid X, now you have material X. How much is material X? Oh, good for you. It's 2200. And material Y is how much? 6080. Now, actual quantity, standard mix. कितना है एक्चुअल क्वांटिटी स्टैंडर्ड मिक्स? नाउ ये टोटल जो है आपका 2200 प्लस 6800, 6800 6080. डू यू अग्री दैट यू हैव टू डिवाइड दिस इन द स्टैंडर्ड प्रोपोर्शन? करेक्ट. इसको आपको डिवाइड करना पड़ेगा इन द स्टैंडर्ड प्रोपोर्शन. बट दैट इज द सिचुएशन व्हेन दे हैव आस्क्ड यू मटेरियल मिक्स वेरिएंस. आपको पूछा क्या है? दे हैव आस्क्ड यू मटेरियल यील्ड वेरिएंस. नाउ मटेरियल यील्ड वेरिएंस एंड मटेरियल मिक्स वेरिएंस, actual quantity, standard mix, and what can you compare that with when you are calculating the material yield variance? Do you remember AQAM, AQSM is material mix variance. Material yield variance में what will you compare?
AQSM and SQSM.
You will compare this with standard quantity, standard mix. Now, what in God's name is standard quantity, standard mix? So, units made, how many? How many units were made? 1010. ठीक है. Now, one unit needs how much? One unit needs 2 kg of material X, and one unit needs 6
सर
kg. हाँ,
सर एक डाउट था
बोलिए.
कि जो सर AQSM है वो 2:6 में होगा ना कैलकुलेट?
हाँ हाँ, ये तो पुराना है. आई एम येट टू अपडेट दैट, डोंट वरी.
ओके सर.
नंबर अभी इट्स जस्ट फ्रॉम द ओल्ड कॉपी पेस्टेड नंबर है. ये तो हम करेंगे ना इसको चेंज अभी.
यस सर.
8280 है ना. करते हैं इसको स्प्लिट. One unit needs 2 kg. So 1010 units into 2 is 2020 kg, and 1010 units into 6 is 6060 kg. Actual quantity standard mix कितना होगा? 8280 into 2/8 है ना?
2070.
2 by, I beg your pardon?
2070.
Okay. And 8280 into 6/8.
6210.
So 2020 is standard quantity, standard mix. 6060 is standard quantity, standard mix. ठीक है. Now here I will do actual quantity standard mix minus standard quantity standard mix. You are supposed to, as per the standard recipe, you are supposed to use 2020 kg of material X, but you ended up using 2070. You used more. So this is 50 2070 minus 2020. This is 50 adverse. ठीक है. And you were supposed to use 6060, but you ended up using 6210. 6060. How much will be the difference?
150.
150.
You used more than what you were supposed to use as compared to the standard recipe. 150 adverse. Standard rate is 1 and 1.5. Now tell me, what is the variance? 50 adverse, 50 into 1.5, 150 into 1.5 is 225 adverse. How much will this?
275 adverse.
ठीक है. So adverse variance of 275. ठीक है. Not a very difficult question, but I took it up so as to be a good revision point of how to calculate material yield variance. Material mix variance and material yield variance, if you have the formulas in place, I don't think calculation can be much of a job. ठीक है.
सर एक डाउट था कि जो आपने एसक्यूएसएम में जो यूज करे हैं एक्चुअल यूनिट्स, तो उसमें वही वाला मतलब कॉन्सेप्ट यूज होगा ना कि वो जो था मतलब स्टैंडर्ड क्वांटिटी ऑफ इनपुट यूज्ड फॉर एक्चुअल आउटपुट
Yes,
वाला.
same concept. ठीक है. Now, what is the favorable monthly sales mix variance? WIG's monthly absorption costing variance analysis report includes a sales mix variance, which indicates the effect on profit of actual sales mix differing from budgeted sales mix. The following data is available: selling price less variable cost less fixed cost, standard operating profit per unit, budgeted sales, actual sales are given to you. Now, can you tell me how do we calculate sales mix variance? For sales mix variance, you will first of all have to take actual quantity in actual mix, correct? So let's talk about product. ठीक है. Actual quantity in actual mix. You sold, there are two products, RR and SS. Actual quantity, actual mix, RR के 2000 units, SS के 8000 units, correct? So the total is 10,000. Now the standard mix is 3:6, correct? So actual quantity is standard mix. If you observe, standard budgeted में RR का 3000 है, SS का 6000 है. So what you will have to do is 10,000 into 3/9 and 10,000 into 6/9. How much is this? 3333. How much will this be? 6667. Now you should have sold 3333 units of RR. You ended up selling only 2000 units of RR. So actual quantity, actual mix minus actual quantity, standard mix. Okay, you ended up selling 1333 units less as compared to budgeted. ठीक है. So This was an adverse variance. And here you ended up selling 1,333 units more than the standard formula, standard jo bhi, recipe you call it. So you sold more units. See, where you sell more units, naturally the variance is favorable. Now, what is the standard margin? Since we are using the absorption costing system, standard margin is going to be standard profit per unit, which is 4 and which is 6. So, what is the variance here? Standard margin into AQAM minus AQSM. So, 1,333 into 4, okay? 1,333 or rather
5332.
5,333, but 5,333 adverse and 1,333 into 6. This is
798.
80,000 favorable. I rounded it off. Okay. They are asking you round it off to the nearest dollar. So what is the difference? 266 point whatever. So it will become 2667 favorable variance. Okay.
सर एब्जॉर्प्शन कॉस्टिंग कहाँ पे लिखा है कि एब्जॉर्प्शन कॉस्टिंग यूज करना है?
Monthly
ओके
absorption costing. The very first line itself. ठीक है,
ओके
ये हो गया आपका sales mix variance. So get the formula in place. The answer is yours. Easy marks, nothing to be lost. ठीक है. Look at the fourth one. This
सर
is
सर एक सर फाइनल आंसर लिखना है ना एंड में, मतलब उन जो लास्ट के दोनों का मतलब एडवर्स फेवरेबल का जो नेट है.
हाँ ये वाला.
ओके सर.
ठीक है. Now, Magic Drinks makes a popular soft drink by mixing two ingredients, soda water and a special syrup. Soda water is inexpensive. Syrup is expensive. Standard mix for the drink is 80% soda water, 20% special syrup. During the recent financial period, the company recorded a favorable mix variance. Identify by selecting the relevant boxes whether the following statements regarding the favorable mix variance are true or false. Okay. Now, don't have that 10th standard वाला approach है कि एक true हो गया तो दूसरा false ही होगा. Both can be false, both can be true. ठीक है. Favorable mix variance. Less syrup was used than the standard mix. See, syrup is, I'm sure you will agree with me that syrup is expensive and they have written also. Soda water is less expensive. So if you are using less of syrup, naturally the mix variance will be higher because you will save the overall cost. And quality of product may be below standard. Again, yes, quite a possibility there. If you are using less of syrup and more of water, naturally the quality or the taste will not be up to the mark. Correct? So again, that's an easy win. People wouldn't expect this in a costing exam, right? But this is where we are. The questions are heavily based on theory at times. अगला वाला देखिए. This is also very interesting. Okay, chemical X is made by combining two materials in a special process. It is normal for 10% of the volume of material input to be lost during the process, and this has been reflected in the expected yield of chemical X. In the most recent period, an adverse yield variance was recorded. What is the most likely cause of the adverse yield variance? Adverse yield variance matlab the output. So there always is an input to output ratio, right? You put 100 kgs of something and you get 90 kg of output. If they are saying that the yield variance is adverse, that means 100 kg has been input, but you have received say 82 kg only, right? Staff receive training on reducing waste as a part of total quality management. No, this would improve the yield variance. इससे yield variance adverse नहीं होगा. The cost of materials input increased due to a fall in supply on world commodity markets. Cost of material increased. ठीक है. Selling price of chemical X fell due to competitors developing a substitute product. इसका कोई लेना देना मेरे हिसाब से तो नहीं है. Because market prices falling has got nothing to do with yield variance ना, ये भी connected नहीं है. This is out. Look at the second one. Cost of material input increased. Cost of material input. Okay, what is the formula? Formula is standard rate into actual quantity standard mix minus standard quantity standard mix. Even if actual rate is increasing, that has got nothing to do with the formula. Formula में तो कहीं है ही नहीं. So this is also ruled out. Look at statement 4. A thermostat attached to the process was faulty, which led to a machine overheating, resulting in an abnormal loss. Overheat हो गया, तो some of the material was lost, which is why the output was lower than what it was expected to be. So statement D is your answer. Again, a question that has to be tackled using pure logic. आप इसको सोचेंगे शांति से, you will get your answer. ठीक है? Any doubts in this one? चलो एक और. A food production company has recently employed a new production manager. The production manager's remuneration includes a bonus that is linked to the monthly cost variances, including the material price, yield, and mix variance. Bonus is linked to material price, material mix, and material yield. Identify by selecting the relevant boxes which of the following statements about linking production managers to these variances is true or false. The production manager will be motivated to improve the quality of output. I think so. What do you think? And production manager would be motivated, or he will always look for ways to reduce waste. See, his bonus is linked to yield. Yield means input to output ratio. Input to output ratio, if it improves, sorry, output to input to output, whatever you call it, if for the same quantity he is getting more units of output, usko bonus milega. So that means he will look for ways to reduce waste, no doubt. But see, material price variance means rate per kg or rate per liter. If he is able to lower that, great. Technically, the production manager should not be held responsible for price because it is the purchase manager's job. But ठीक है, that is not even given in the option. Material yield variance matlab for the input output ratio has to improve. That means for the same quantity of input, you should be able to get a higher quantity of output. तो yield variance के लिए he will try to reduce the waste. Mix variance के लिए again, see, mix variance, when will it become favorable? Think about it. When the expensive component is used in lesser proportion and the cheap component is used in more proportion. जैसे कॉफी में you are supposed to mix 30 liters of 30 liters नहीं 30 ml of milk and 20 ml of water, but आपको you don't have enough milk in the house, so you will reduce the proportion of milk, you will increase the proportion of water. तो फाइनल कॉफी का क्वालिटी उतना अच्छा नहीं रहेगा, but every person will get one cup, right? So production manager will never care about quality if these are the three items on which he is going to get his bonus, which is why statement 1 is false. He is looking at improving the output for the given number of units of input. उसको ये बात से लेना देना नहीं है कि इसका क्वालिटी क्या है. उसको ये बात से लेना देना नहीं है कि अरे व्हाट आई एम गेटिंग इज नॉट एट पार. ही इज नॉट कंसर्न्ड अबाउट दैट. तो विच इज व्हाई द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज फॉल्स. डू यू अग्री? I believe this is a very
Yes.
interesting question, एकदम ऐसे ऐसा, because we will always believe that a production manager should be motivated to improve the quality of output, which is great. But here he is judged only on price, yield and mix. तो यहाँ पे quality के लिए he has no incentive. ठीक है? चलो. What is the total sales quantity contribution variance? The following budgeted data for a particular period was available. Product A, selling price, variable cost, sales volume in units. The actual results are, this is the budgeted plan, okay? Product A ka selling price 22, B ka 26, variable cost 8, variable cost 11, sales volume in units 14,200, 12,500. Okay, so product A and B, actual quantity 14,200, 12,500. What is the total? 26,700. ठीक है. क्लियरली दिख रहा है यार, एसीसीए के वेबसाइट पे किसी इंटर्न ने फॉर्मेटिंग की है. देखो सेलिंग प्राइस कहाँ पे लिखा, कहाँ पे. नो प्रॉपर फॉर्मेटिंग डन. व्हाट इज द स्टैंडर्ड मिक्स? 15,840, 10,560. Correct. Now you have actual quantity, which is actual quantity के लिए another word is actual quantity, actual mix. अब you have to split this in the standard proportion. Okay, so standard sales mix is A is to B ये हो जाएगा आपका 15,840 is to 10,560, 26,400 एक्चुअल क्वांटिटी स्टैंडर्ड मिक्स। ठीक है, ये कैसे करेंगे? सो 26,700 इंटू 15,840 अपॉन 26,400 and 26,700 into 10,560 upon 26,400. चलो calculate and tell me.
सर 842448।
Okay, 20. Oh, 26,400 नहीं है, 26,700. I don't know why I wrote 26,400. My mistake. This is 26,700. Denominator मेरा गलत था. 15,840. No, no, no. Sorry. I am distracted, I think. बराबर था जो था वो. 26,700 into 15,840 upon 15,840 plus 10,560. 16,020. 10,680. This is actual quantity, standard mix. We will compare this with budgeted quantity, which is nothing but standard quantity, standard mix, right? What is the budgeted quantity? 15,840 and 10,560. Okay. Now, what is your standard margin? Standard margin here is 20 minus 8, that is 12, and it is 24 minus 11, which is 13. Okay. Now, what is the sales quantity variance? Twelve into. So this will be, see, you were supposed to sell 15,840, you ended up selling 16,020, है ना? And you were, so that means there is a favorable variance. You were supposed to sell 15,840 as per the budget, but you ended up selling more. 16,020 minus 15,840 into 12, and 10,560 is what you were supposed to sell, but you ended up selling 10,680 into 13. बताइए मुझे कितना आता है वेरिएंस आपका?
So product A 2,160.
Okay, favorable. And this one? 1,560 favorable. ठीक है. So what you have is, you have your sales quantity variance, formula based approach. Total बताइए, how much is the total variance?
3720.
3,720 favorable. This is your sales quantity variance. ठीक है. Again, formula based approach, कुछ ज्यादा मतलब सोचना नहीं है, but yes, you need to be good with formulas to be able to tackle this. ठीक है. Any questions in this one?
No, sir.
चलो. Have a look at these. Which of the above is or are correct? The following statements have been made about the material mix variance for a company manufacturing different products using the same type of material measured in kgs. The mix variance can be calculated by taking the difference between the actual quantity in the standard mix and the actual quantity in the actual mix, then multiplying it by the actual cost per kg. Mix variance can be calculated by taking difference between actual quantity in standard mix, actual quantity in actual mix, then multiplying it with actual cost per kg. Do you multiply it with actual cost per kg or standard cost per kg? You have standard cost per kg outside the bracket, so this is wrong. Which means then look at the second one. Mix variance arises because there is a difference between what the input should have been for the output achieved and the actual output. I think statement 2 talks about material yield variance, not about material mix variance. For this level of input, what is the actual output versus what should have been the real output? इन दोनों का difference is material yield variance. So both statements are incorrect. ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
Cool. A company sells two products and has calculated the following information relating to sales variances. Sales mix variance is 1000, sales price variance is 200, sales volume variance is 1400. There is no indication whether the sales mix variance is adverse or favorable, but it was caused by a lower proportion of the more profitable item being sold. See, sales volume variance and sales price variance, sales volume variance is what? Standard margin outside the bracket into actual quantity minus budgeted quantity. ठीक है. Sales mix variance they are saying is 1000. They don't know कि यार ये favorable है कि adverse है. But they are making a statement here. What statement are they making? They are saying that lower proportion of the more profitable product being sold. तो जो भी होगा, will it be adverse or will it be favorable? What do you think? ठीक है. So less proportion of the more profitable product was sold. ठीक है. So sales mix variance will be adverse. ठीक है. And volume variance is mix variance plus quantity variance. Volume variance कितना है? It is 1400 adverse, which is mix variance 1000. Now we know it is adverse plus quantity variance. So आपका quantity variance is going to be 400 adverse. See, if you are selling less units of the more profitable product or less proportion of a more profitable product, overall profit will fall, and that is your sales mix variance. So that has to be adverse because आप ज्यादा profitable product का कम unit बेच रहे हो, right? Which is why that variance is adverse. And naturally we know volume variance is the total of mix variance plus quantity variance. Mix variance है आपके पास, so now you can calculate the quantity variance. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. Now, look at this one. They have asked you to calculate total material yield variance for Micra. Vibrant manufactures and sells paints. Business unit A of the company makes a paint called Micra using three key material RST. At the end of period 1, a total material cost variance of 4900 adverse was correctly recorded for Micra. Total material cost variance. ठीक है. Now, total material cost variance is material price variance या material rate variance plus material usage variance. And how much is it? 4900 adverse है ये. Then the following information relates to Micra for period 1. RST, standard cost per liter 63.50.45, Actual cost per liter 62, 51, 48. Actual usage. The standard ratio of mixing R, S, and T is 30 is to 50 is to 20. The material price variance has been correctly calculated as 4800 adverse. ठीक है, material price variance कितना है? 4800 adverse. Can we say that material usage variance is how much? 100 adverse. Can we say that? है ना? अब यहां पे you have actual usage in liters, actual quantity, actual mix, and you have the standard mix given to you. We can calculate the actual quantity in standard mix. ठीक है, अब देखो इसका हम यूज कैसे करेंगे. हाउ विल वी यूज दिस इंफॉर्मेशन? आर, एस एंड टी. ठीक है, एक्चुअल यूसेज ए क्यू ए एम 1900, 2800, 1300. 1900, 2800, 1300. ठीक है, एक्चुअल क्वांटिटी स्टैंडर्ड मिक्स. ये कैसे होगा? दिस विल बी 30 is to 50 is to 20, है ना? सो 3000 इंटू 30%, 3000 नहीं 6000, 6000 इंटू 50% एंड 6000 इंटू 20%. एक्चुअल क्वांटिटी एक्चुअल मिक्स है, एक्चुअल क्वांटिटी स्टैंडर्ड मिक्स है. एज पर द स्टैंडर्ड प्रोपोर्शन यू शुड हैव यूज्ड 1800 ऑफ आर, यू यूज 1900 ऑफ आर. ठीक है, सो AQAM minus AQSM. How much you should have used and how much did you use? You were supposed to use 1800, you used 1900. There is an adverse variance of 100. You were supposed to use 3000, you ended up using 2800. There is a favorable variance of 200. You used less. You were supposed to use 1200, you used more than that. This is an adverse variance of 100. Ab, what is the standard? Huh? Standard rate 63, 50, and 45. Correct. 63, 50, 45. Does that about seem right? I mean, have I written anything wrong here? कि बराबर है ना? So मेरा variance कितना होगा? 63 into 100, 6300 adverse. 50 into 200 should be 10,000 favorable. 45 into 100 should be 4500 adverse. What is the total?
20,800.
10,000 minus 6300 minus 4500. 800 adverse हो जाएगा. Are you with me, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Ishan? Okay. Now understand one thing. आपके पास मटेरियल यूसेज वेरिएंस है 100 adverse. You need material yield variance. Now, material usage variance 100 adverse is material mix variance 800 adverse plus material yield variance. So how much will be material yield variance? Naturally 700 favorable होगा ना, तभी जाके this will tie up, right? This
Yes,
is
sir.
थोड़ा सा twist किया है question को. They could have asked you material mix variance and life would have been easy, but they added two layers of complexity. First of all, they did not ask you material yield variance by giving material yield variance का data. पहले usage दिया, then बोला usage is the total of yield and mix. फिर आपने mix निकाला, उसके बेसिस पे then you get the yield variance. ठीक है. Now again, thoda sa, if you know your this thing is on track na, if you're reading the question carefully, you will get the answer right. ये देखो, The standard material input for making 1000 kg of product is 80 kg of material Z at 5 per kg, 45 kg of material Y at 9 per kg. During the last period, 5000 kg of Z costing 4.8 per kg and 2500 kg of Y costing 9 per kg were used to produce 6200 kg of the product. Okay. Now let's talk about materials. यहाँ पे आएगा Z, यहाँ पे आएगा Y. ठीक है, मटेरियल Z आएगा, मटेरियल Y आएगा. Okay, now what do we do next? We write down the actual quantity used, है ना? Actual quantity, actual mix. कितना था? 5000 kg of Z was used and 2500 kg of Y was used. Fair enough. What is the standard mix?
2.2
Z is to 80 is to 45. Correct. Now, what do we have here? Actual quantity, standard mix. कितना है actual quantity standard mix? Take the total 7500. ठीक है, 7500 into 80 by 125 and 7500 into 45 by 125. कितना हो गया? Tell me actual quantity standard mix.
So 4,800.
4800. This has to be, I think, 2700.
Yes, sir.
Actual quantity, actual mix, actual quantity, standard mix. Yield variance is, so you will need standard quantity, standard mix, which is standard quantity of input for actual output. SQSM is standard quantity of input for actual output. ठीक है, अब 1 kg needs, sorry, for 100 kg output needs 80 kg of Z. So 6200 kg output will need 80 into how much? 62, and 100 kg of output needs 45 kg of Y. So 6200 will need 45 into 62. 2790, 4960, 2790. Actual quantity standard mix, standard quantity standard mix. AQSM minus SQSM. As per the ideal recipe for 6200 kg of output, you should have used 4960 kg of input, but you used 4800, you used less. So this is 160 favorable. You were supposed to use 2790, you ended up using 2700. This is 90 का favorable. ठीक है, and what is the variance then? अच्छा, variance के लिए you will also need the standard rate. This is 5 and this is 9. Variance कैसे आएगा आपका? Your variance will be 160 into 5, 800 favorable. 90 into 9, 810 favorable. 1610 favorable. Correct? This is your answer. I wouldn't call this a difficult question, but just for practice, how to get things right and how not to lose your way, when you are solving the question. ठीक है, ये easy था. I don't find it difficult at all. Let's see the next one. Which of the following is not true about a sales mix variance? Okay, what is the first statement? The first statement says that if actual sales revenue from two products are in the same ratio as the budgeted sales revenue, then there is no measurable sales mix variance. See, tell me, sales mix variance is sales mix variance relates to what is the formula? Actual quantity, actual mix, actual quantity, standard mix. It talks about that, right? So sales mix variance refers to quantity sold, not revenue from product. You multiply that with the standard margin, by the way. Okay. Sales mix variance talks about the variance of quantity, not the variance of sales revenue. So statement one very clearly is not true. ये false है. Because sales mix variance, if you look at the formula, it is quantity based formula, like standard quantity, standard mix, actual quantity, standard mix, whatever it is, AQAM, AQSM, it's Q, not revenue. So statement A is false. If all products have the same budgeted margin, there is no measurable sales mix variance. Yes, this statement is true. If their budgeted margins are the same, तो mix variance कैसे निकलेगा? Mix variance तो तब आएगा ना when certain products are more expensive, other products are less expensive. If actual sales volume are in the same ratio as the budgeted sales volume, there is no measurable sales mix variance. ठीक है. Now sales volume are in the same ratio as the budgeted sales volume variance. ठीक है. So what is that? Actual sales volume matlab quantity in the same ratio as budgeted sales volume. Yes, this is true. Then there is no sales mix variance. वो ratios का game है पूरा, वो भी quantity related. If actual sales volume of all products are 10% above the budgeted sales volume, there is no measurable sales mix variance. Actual sales volume is 10% more above the budgeted sales volume for all the proportions. ठीक है. अगेन देयर इज नो मेजरेबल वेरिएंस बिकॉज क्वांटिटी का ग्रोथ भी जो हुआ है वो 10% है. मतलब राइट नाउ आई हैड प्रेडिक्टेड कि 800 एंड 900, 8:9 इज द सेल्स मिक्स. देन दिस आई गेट 10% मोर, और ये भी मुझे मिलता है 10% मोर. ऑल द क्वांटिटी इज इंक्रीज, उसका रेशियो इज द सेम. सो अगेन देयर इज नो सेल्स मिक्स वेरिएंस. स्टेटमेंट डी इज ऑल्सो ट्रू, ओनली ए इज नॉट ट्रू. एंड कैन यू सी व्हाई इट इज नॉट ट्रू? हेमा, ईशान, गायत्री.
यस सर।
Yes, sir.
है ना, थोड़ा मतलब अलग टाइप का क्वेश्चन है. वेरी वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, ट्रिकी है, बट गुड गुड फॉर प्रैक्टिस. अब ये देखो, labor rate planning variance. Now, can you tell me the formula for labor rate planning variance? Planning variance मतलब ओरिजिनल बजट और ओरिजिनल नंबर माइनस द रिवाइज्ड स्टैंडर्ड, है ना? ऐसे ही आता है.
Oops.
AH into RSR minus SR.
Actual hours into
Revised standard rate minus standard rate.
revised standard rate minus
Standard.
original standard rate. DB manufactures and sells e-readers. The standard labor cost per unit of the product is 7. Each unit takes 0.5 hours to produce at a labor rate of 14 per hour. The budgeted production was 20,000 units. The production director subsequently reviewed the marketing conditions that had been experienced during August and determined that the market labor rates were 17.5 per hour. The actual production was 22,000 units. Actual labor hours worked were 11,400 hours at 15.50 per hour. ठीक है. सो क्या होगा यहाँ पे? लेबर रेट प्लानिंग वेरिएंस है ना? व्हेन आई से लेबर रेट प्लानिंग वेरिएंस, इट इज एक्चुअल आवर्स कितना है आपका? 11,400 इनटू व्हाट इज द रिवाइज्ड स्टैंडर्ड रेट?
17.5.
17.5 and What is the original standard rate?
14.
Tell me. कितना आया? 39,900.
एडवर्स.
Why adverse? Answer is correct, but why adverse?
सर बिकॉज जो हमने प्रिडिक्ट करा था कि हम लाइक $14 का रेट देंगे पर आवर का, बट रिवाइज करा तो देखा कि वो ज्यादा हो गया, तो हमें ज्यादा पे करना पड़ेगा पर आवर लेबर को, इस वजह से एडवर्स हो गया.
एंड 15.5 का इसमें कोई रोल नहीं है बिकॉज 15.5 इज द एक्चुअल रेट. करेक्ट. आपने जो बजट रिवाइज किया उसमें द रेट वाज मोर. एक्चुअल इसका कोई कनेक्शन नहीं है. एंड यू नो व्हाट विल बी प्रॉब्लम क्या होगा? व्हाट समवन माइट डू इज 17.5 माइनस 15.5 करेगा, फिर वो इसको 11,400 से मल्टीप्लाई करेगा, फिर यू विल कीप ऑन सर्चिंग 22,800, कहीं मिलेगा ही नहीं. बिकॉज दैट एक्चुअल रेट इज ऑफ नो यूज ऑलवेज, विच इज वाई प्रिफर टू राइट डाउन द फॉर्मूला फर्स्ट. आपका ओरिजिनल जो बजटेड वैल्यू था that was 11,400 into 14, but now that number is 11,400 into 17.5, which is why the variance is adverse. ठीक है. Now, what is meant by budgetary slack? The lead time between preparation of functional budgets and the approval of the master budget by senior management. The difference between budgeted output and actual output. The difference between budgeted capacity utilization and full capacity. The intentional overestimation of cost and or underestimation of revenue in a budget. ठीक है. Intentional overestimation of cost and underestimation of revenue. Which of the following is budgetary slack? See, when you intentionally overestimate the cost, it's like telling your parents, say you're going for a trip. Trip ka kharcha is going to be 5,000. And you know ki yaar, I will end up overspending. So what you tell your parents is ki, you know what, the trip ka kharcha is going to be 10,000. Then when you end up spending 8,000, they will think that, you know, you have saved 2,000 as compared to the budget that you had quoted. But in fact, you have exceeded the number that you originally had in mind. When you build a slack na, you will not get punishment for your performance, you will not get reprimanded for your performance. Telling parents 5,000 and then spending 8,000 is grounds for punishment. Telling parents 10,000 and then scoring 8,000 is like, Arey, my kid saved money. So when you build slack, you do it in order to you know turn the performance measurement in a certain way. And see, slack is, that additional cushion that you are building in anything, which is why your answer is option D. Additional cushion, that is your budgetary slack. ठीक है. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
यस सर.
Okay. अब ये देखिए. What was the operational labor efficiency variance? So, labor efficiency, operational variance. कितना होगा? Efficiency variance means standard rate into what is the difference? Revised standard hours minus actual hours. Correct? Operation B in a factory has a standard time of 15 minutes. The standard rate of pay for operatives is 10 per hour. The budget for a period was based on carrying out the operation 350 times. It was subsequently realized that the standard time for Operation B included in the budget did not incorporate expected time savings from the use of new machinery from the start of the period. The standard time should have been reduced to 12 minutes. Operation B was actually carried out 370 times in the period in a total of 80 hours. The operatives were paid 850. ठीक है. Operation B was carried out 370 times. ठीक है. Actually, it was done those many times in a total period of 80 hours. ठीक है. When you do it one time, the time you require is 15 minutes, original standard time. But the revised standard time is how much? The revised standard time is 12 minutes, है ना? Now, if you do it 370 times into 12 minutes, how many minutes is that? 4440 minutes. ठीक है. And these are revised standard hours. And 80 hours into 60 minutes. 8 6 are 48 is actual hours. So, what will be labor efficiency operational variance? Standard rate. What is standard rate? 10 per hour. है ना? 10 per hour into revised standard hours 4440 upon 60 minutes में था minus 4800 upon 60. I used more time than what I actually should have, है ना? I used more time, so the variance is going to be adverse. अब 4440 upon 60 is 74. I was supposed to use 74 hours. I used 80 hours. Difference is 74 minus 80, 6. So जो आपका labor efficiency operational variance है, that will be 6 into 10, that is 60 का adverse variance हो जाएगा. Answer is option A. Make sense?
Yes,
सर
sir.
एक बार फिर से एक्सप्लेन कर दो ये वाला डाउट, समझ
कौन
नहीं
सा?
आया.
Which part did you not understand?
सर ये जो हमने निकाला है रिवाइज स्टैंडर्ड आर 70 टाइम्स इनटू 12 जो करा है, तो वो हमें एक्चुअल बेसिस पे मतलब कैलकुलेट करना है रिवाइज स्टैंडर्ड आर.
So revised standard hours is what? Standard hours for actual output. Revised standard hours for actual output, right? How much is the actual output? You ran the process 370 times. When you run it
Yes.
once, your revised standard time is 12 minutes. So when you run it 370 times, it will be 370 into 12, which is 4440 minutes, which is nothing but 74 hours.
एंड सर अगर लाइक स्टैंडर्ड आवर्स निकालने होते और तो वो भी मतलब मतलब ऐसे निकलते ना 370 इंटू 15 हो जाता अगर
That will
स्टैंडर्ड
be
आवर्स निकाल.
original standard hours, correct?
ओके सर.
ठीक है.
बस.
इसको देखो. Gonav makes satellite navigation system for cars. Budgeted sales for the financial year ended were 9 lakh units. Based on an expected market size of 9 million units, the actual market size was lower than expected due to increased use of navigation app on smartphones. The total market was only 6 million units. Gonav made sales of 7 lakh units. The sales volume variance will be analyzed into market size and market share. तो मार्केट साइज कितना है वो बताना है आपको, एंड मार्केट शेयर कितना है वो बताना है आपको. ठीक है. हाउ विल वी गो अबाउट इट? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, व्हाट वाज ओरिजिनल मार्केट साइज? 9 million.
Nine.
And share of Gonav 9
Nine.
lakh. So this is original, revised. The updated actual market size was lower than expected. Total market was only 6 million units. And sales done were 7 lakh. So I guess it is a favorable market share. अगर मैं बोलूं तो favorable है, because you were projected to have a market share of 10%, but you had a market share of 12%, so that's favorable. And market size जो है वो आपका कम हो गया. 9 million का 6 million हो गया, तो this will be adverse. Make sense?
Yes.
चलो, which of the following would be valid reasons for revising the standard? At the start of the year, the standard material cost of a product was estimated. The actual cost incurred during the recent month was higher than this, and the purchasing manager is suggesting that the standard should be revised. He has suggested two reasons why the standard should be revised. A delay in placing some orders led to the supplier charging a premium of for express delivery services. The delay was caused by poor organization in the purchasing department. Market price of material in question have risen by 10% on worldwide commodity markets. Which of the following is a valid enough reason for revising the standard? ठीक है, मार्केट प्राइसेस ग्लोबली हैव ग्रोन बाय 10%, सो आपको ओरिजिनल स्टैंडर्ड को रिवाइज करना पड़ेगा. That means options which don't have statement 2 should be ruled out. This is ruled out. This is ruled out. Now check first one. A delay in placing some orders led to the supplier charging a premium for express delivery. The delivery was caused by poor organization in the purchasing department. See, poor organization in purchasing department talks about lack of efficiency, or it basically hints towards not doing your job properly. You don't need to revise the standard, you need to improve the efficiency of operations. So statement 1 के वजह से you will not revise the standard. Statement 1 के वजह से if statement 1 वाला situation exists, you should improve the quality of your operations. So this is out. 2 only. This is ठीक है.
Yes.
ये मतलब कॉमन सेंस टाइप है, बट इफ यू डोंट रीड इट केयरफुली, बिग जीरो. Now, research has shown that variance analysis is less relevant in the modern environment of just-in-time manufacturing. ठीक है, और just this is the latest market research that has happened. Now, the point is, and of course in PQM environment also, a company's production manager has made the following statements. A JIT system relies on long-term contracts and with the supplier, and so the material price variance is less relevant. A just-in-time inventory system, see, company relies on strong relationships with suppliers so that whenever we place an order, we should get priority and the material should be delivered to us quickly. ठीक है, ensuring that deliveries are obtained when required and of the quality that you need is critical for the success of just-in-time inventory, है ना. Companies companies want to ensure कि quality is high, wastage is low, and whenever you need the material it should be delivered. So express delivery के लिए भी also they will be willing to pay. These days I have seen this on Zomato, कुछ 50 rupees you add ना, और express delivery मिलता है आपको. So with that in mind, see, just in time inventory system, people don't care so much about the price as long as they are getting the material when required, because in JIT they are trying to save on storage and warehousing and all of these costs. So JIT relies on long-term contracts and material price variance is less relevant. This is correct. Main focus of TQM is quality, while the main focus of variance analysis is cost reduction. Yes, this is also true. Variance analysis, cost control and reduction is the main focus. ठीक है. So again, logic, simple logic apply करो and you will have your answer. ठीक है. अब let's have a look at two questions from और दो क्वेश्चंस है एक्चुअली मेरे पास, थोड़े से अजीब है, आई वुड से. व्हाट वाज द फिक्स्ड प्रोडक्शन ओवरहेड कैपेसिटी वेरिएंस? ठीक है, फिक्स्ड ओवरहेड कैपेसिटी वेरिएंस. आई ऑलवेज रिमेंबर ए बी सी. सी इज कैपेसिटी, सो ब्रैकेट में क्या आएगा? एक्चुअल माइनस बजटेड. बट एक्चुअल माइनस बजटेड व्हाट? एक्चुअल आवर्स माइनस बजटेड आवर्स. ब्रैकेट के बाहर क्या आएगा?
स्टैंडर्ड रेट.
A manufacturing company operates a standard absorption costing system. Last month, 25,000 hours were budgeted and fixed production overhead was 1,25,000. Last month, the actual hours worked were 24,000 and standard hours for actual production were 27,000. Actual hours minus budgeted hours. What is the standard rate? OAR कितना है आपका? 5 per hour is OAR, है ना?
यस सर।
5 per hour is your OAR. Actual hours
ट्वेंटी
कितना
फोर
टाइम
थाउजेंड
एंड बजटेड आवर्स कितना था? 25,000. So actual hours were 24,000, budgeted hours were 25,000. See, when budgeted hours are 25,000, that means they expected all 25,000 hours to be used and output delivered in that proportion. You actually ended up using only 24,000 hours. So this is an adverse variance of 5,000. It's like I tell you ki Ishan, do 10 questions today. That is your budgeted quantity. But you end up doing only 8 questions today. सो यू डिड लेस और आई टेल यू ईशान आप 4 घंटे पढ़ाई करो. ईशान ने पढ़ाई किया 3 घंटा. सो यू कैन से ईशान सेव टाइम बट दैट ऑल्सो मीन्स ईशान आउटपुट वॉज लेस. सो दिस इज 5,000 का अडवर्स वेरियंस. ठीक है. एंड वन लास्ट वन फॉर टुडे. XYZ uses standard costing. It assembles a component for which the standard data is available. Labor hours per assembly 24 labor cost per hour. Last month 850 assemblies were made. है ना? तो पूछा क्या है? There was no rate variance and an adverse efficiency variance of 4400. How many labor hours were actually worked? थोड़ा सा घुमा के पूछा है क्वेश्चन. लेबर एफिशिएंसी वेरिएंस कितना है? लेबर एफिशिएंसी वेरिएंस 4400 एडवर्स. ठीक है. नाउ लेबर एफिशिएंसी वेरिएंस इज standard rate into actual hours minus standard hours required for actual output. What is the standard rate? Labor cost per hour कितना है?
एट
8
एट
है.
डॉलर
ठीक है. 4400 एडवर्स है. दिस इज स्टैंडर्ड रेट which is 8 into they don't know the actual hours worked and standard hours of input for actual output. Labor hours per assembly are 24. So labor hours for 850 assemblies will be 850 into 24. Is that correct?
यस सर।
Variance is adverse. ठीक है. That means actual hours used were more than standard hours allowed. That means actual hours minus standard hours will be a positive number, na? If actual hours are more than standard hours. So 4400 is 8 into actual hours minus 24 5s are 120 carry 12.
2400.
क्या 850 into 24 is 2400?
सर
20.
2400।
20.
2400.
Now 4400 प्लस 20,400 इज 8 इंटू एक्चुअल आवर्स, है ना? कितना है? 4400 प्लस 2400 24,800 इंटू 20 24,800 is 8 into actual hours. So actual hours will be 24,800 by 8. Tell me how much is it? 3,100. Is it right? कि नहीं कुछ गड़बड़ किया डिवाइड मल्टीप्लाई का?
सर शायद गड़बड़ हुआ है, वो एट
बताइए.
इंटू ए एच हुआ है, तो वहां पे भी तो मल्टीप्लाई होगा अंदर शायद। एट इंटू
हाँ,
शायद से 2400 से भी।
शायद से नहीं, पक्का होगा.
यस सर।
बताइए। 20,400 इंटू 8 प्लस 4,400
वन सिक्स
divided by
सेवन
8.
सिक्स डबल जीरो
Correct. 167600. 8 into actual hours. 20,950. ठीक है। 20,950 is the actual hours worked. One oversight and an easy question can completely spiral out of your hand. So it's okay to take 30 seconds more, but it's not okay to make a mistake by rushing through a question. वो प्लीज मत करना, बाकी everything else is okay. ठीक है।